We're starting a brand new series today called Rules for the Road. Tips to ensure you reach your destination safely. And maybe as we're beginning this year and as we closed off last year, you've been thinking about some plans for the year ahead. Maybe you're one of these people that have New Year resolutions. You have a plan for the year, things that you would like to try and succeed in this year, or things that you would like to buy, things that you would like to achieve for the year ahead. I love a new year. I have goals for the new year. I'm one of those New Year resolution guys and love to just make new goals and see if I can complete them and do them each and every year. And one thing that I regularly do, and I don't know when it started, and it's a bit random, but this year I'm off fizzy drinks. I'm just on water. And I do this every other year. I don't know why it's a thing. I do 1 year and I'm like, okay, great. And then the next year I just decide, actually I want some sugary drinks. So then I go a bit overboard the next year, and then the next year I go water again. So that's one of my goals for this year, that nothing but water is going to enter my body this year. And maybe you've got a goal, maybe you've got a plan, maybe you want to see a business started this year, maybe it's a new home, maybe it's to start a family. You may have a goal, or maybe you don't. Maybe you've already started 2025 and you're like, sure, I'll see what happens. I'll see what comes up this year. But what could 2025 possibly hold for you? It's a brand new year. It's a fresh start. Anything is possible. With a new year becomes new beginnings. With a new year comes new dreams, new adventures, new journeys. What could 2025 hold for you? Maybe you've started previous years with a plan, with a dream, with an adventure, excited to go on this journey, but then that year didn't pan out the way that you thought. That you started plans and you started New Year's resolutions, and by the end of January, you'd already stopped. So maybe 2025, you've decided to do nothing because, it didn't work that year and it didn't work the year before. So I'm just going to see where life takes me. But we want to help you get to your destination, because we all have a journey in mind. I don't know if it's this year or a 10-year goal, or by retirement I want to do X, Y, and Z. We want to help you get there. And as our video showed that we're using this analogy of a car, rules for the road, and we prepare ourselves for a long journey. We're going to travel this week, and traveling first time with a baby on a flight is not fun. We've got to bring the car seat, we've got to bring the buggy, we've got to bring the travel cot, and then we've got to bring his bag. And then we paid for extra luggage, and it says up to 20 kg. So this is where my head is at the minute, right? And if you work for Ryanair, help me out, because I've read nothing online. I've paid for extra baby equipment, and you're allowed 20 kg. So I'm bringing a 20 kg bag with all his stuff in it, because it is baby equipment. So I might get to the flight and they're like, no, you're not allowed that. That is a bag. You're only allowed equipment. So please pray for me that I get onto this Ryanair flight with Caleb's 20 kg bag. But we want to get you to your destination safely. And in this series, we will give you 4 tips to ensure you reach your destination safely. Maybe you're in this room and you don't look after your car. Maybe you have no clue how it works. You know how to put the fuel in, and that's it. That's where your knowledge of your car stops. And I know a little bit about a car, but not a lot. So what I do regularly is I get my brother-in-law to come for a drive. Because he will, what's that noise? I've always done that. And then he'll be able to tell me, no, that is X, Y, and Z. Or he's able to tell me, have you topped up this? Have you done that? Because he loves his car, he's really into it. So he tries to tell me how to maintain my car, because he knows what he's talking about. So we're trying to give you 4 tips for your life, for my life, to start this year well, to ensure that you reach your destination safely. Because most of us may make the end of 2025, or probably all make the end of 2025, but I pray that you make it joyfully, with your head held high, not hurt, and not tired, and not beaten up by life and because of the decisions that we made, but you arrive safely. And to quote a popular song that I love, it says this, Tom Cochrane in Life is a Highway says, life is like a road that you travel on, when there's one day here and the next day gone. That's why it's so important to live every single day with purpose. To say at the start of this year, I'm going to live each day with purpose, because there's one day here and then the next day it's gone. Tomorrow is tomorrow, and we can't relive today once we're in tomorrow. And so often in life, and when we're in our car, we look at the rear view mirror, and we do that. We love to look back at life and we think, oh, if only I could have changed that. If only I could relive that moment. And in our car, we can put it into reverse. But who knows that we can't put our life into reverse? There are no do-overs. We can't come back and do today again once this day is done. There are no do-overs. And there's a movie that Tom Cruise is in, and I think it's called like Tomorrowland or something, and he replays the same day each and every day. And sometimes we wish that we could do that. But in life, there are no do-overs. You can't go back and relive your 20s. Maybe some of us would love to go back and relive those days, and we'd love to be a little more healthier, or start that business, or buy that house. Because for some of us, if we bought our house in the 20s, we'd be millionaires now. And we wish that we had bought property way back then. You can't relive your first marriage. You can't raise that child again. You can't unsay that thing that you did. Sometimes we think back and we would love to relive that day. If only I stood up for myself. If only I had started my relationship with Jesus all those years ago. Whether it is buying property, whether we can't go and relive our lives. And too many of us live life looking in the rearview mirror. We're always looking back to the good old days. Do you remember the good old days? Everything seemed to be perfect. Everything seemed to be chill. Maybe even further back when you were a child. And your parents looked after everything. There was no bills, no worries, no stresses. And we live through the rear view mirror. And we're missing out on what is ahead of us. And just to build on this analogy of the rear view mirror and looking back, I thought I would look back at the first car that I ever had. What was the first car you ever had? Maybe you're thinking back and all those memories of that car and you were grateful for it, but then you realize, like, I didn't like the color, or it broke down all the time, or I didn't even know how to look after it. This was my first car. This is my Peugeot 207. It wasn't bad, okay? It's not like, I am blessed with great parents, and they got me a decent looking car. And if you want a tip for buying a car, always buy it off a pensioner. Because they normally just drive it from their house to the shop and back again. So we bought this car, and it had very low miles because those people that we bought it off didn't drive very much. So it was an older, but it had very little miles. So there's some tips for you as well. So it wasn't a bad car, but if you know Peugeot and you know French cars, there was obviously problems with the electrics. And down to my not looking after the car, there were other issues. I remember taking off the coolant. I can't even get the word for the cap. That's how bad I am. So I was topping up the coolant and forgot to put the cap back on. So then the engine started to heat up, and then there was just all the... Luckily, there wasn't fireworks. It was just steam. And I stopped, and there was just steam everywhere. I was like, what happened? And da-da-da-da. And then I ended up needing a new engine. Yay. But the electrics weren't my fault. I needed to replace the electrics 3 times. The whole circuit board 3 times, because it's a French car. Was not my fault. The horn stopped working, this stopped working, that stopped working. It was the electrics. But I thought, what was the first car I remember my family having? And it was this Ford Mondeo. Did anyone have? The memories are flooding back now. And this is the first car I remember my parents having. And it's probably etched in my memory because it was actually stolen from us. I remember having this car, and then we had just went into Belfast city centre and we were doing a bit of shopping. We came back to the car park and the car wasn't there. So naturally as a child, I thought my parents were playing a practical joke. I was like, ha ha ha, someone's moved the car. This is funny, da da da. And then we ended up getting a taxi home. And then it wasn't as funny after that because someone had stolen the car. But even to add insult to injury, this car was parked at our old church, and there was no car park. It was just on the streets. And we came out of church one day, and all the windows were smashed in on that car as well. So I have a lot of memories of this car. Not good ones, but I didn't have to pay for it, and it wasn't my stress. It was all on my parents, so it's not as hurtful. But what was your first car? What's the memories of cars that you have? And we all look through the rearview mirror of life, and we can look back. And that's what our rearview mirror is for, that we glance at what is behind us. But it's a glance. We're not living what is behind, but we're looking forward for 2025. And when we look at the back, when we look behind us and we look at the past, we can't change the past, but we can control the future. When we look back at the good old days, and we look back at what has happened over 2024 or the years that have gone past, we can't change the past, but we can control the future. And that's not us saying, hey, you can control everything. We're not naive enough to say you can control the destination of your life. But there's a lot of things in your future you can control. And that's what we want to help you with in this series, that you can control aspects of your future. Because I might not know you today, but I know that all of us want to get the future right. None of us are planning for failure this year. None of us are planning for a terrible year. Well, at least we hope not. But we all want to get the future right. We all want to get there healthy. We all want to get there strength. We all want to get there in our right mind, and to do it right, surrounded by the people that we love. So we want to give you 4 tips on how to do that, 4 rules for the road. And over the next few weeks, these are the rules that we're going to look at. The rules are: 1, don't travel alone. 2, choose the destination and borrow a map. 3, pay attention to the signs. And week 4, don't carry unnecessary baggage. But today we're going to start with rule 1, and rule 1 is don't travel alone. Don't travel alone. And Lavi had already alluded to it, that she gets to live life with her family, with her friends surrounding her. And that's an element of what we're going to get to today. Don't do life alone. And a question we want to ask you today is this: have you ever set out on a journey with so-called friends only for them to ditch you? Maybe you've been on a journey. Think back in your past of journeys that you've been on, or places that you've tried to go, for your so-called friends, for them to ditch you. Maybe you were in school. Maybe you had a group of friends in school, and you had plans, and you hung out together, and you did the same routine. And then a more popular person came along, and you got ditched. That you weren't as cool as this person. So instead of fulfilling their plans with you, they decided to hang out with X, Y, or Z. And you probably already remember that person, that popular kid in school that got all the attention, and what they said goes. Or maybe someone put date night over boys' night. Maybe the lads get together on Saturdays and you're watching the sport, and then that one friend starts a relationship and you never see them again. They disappear. They ditch you. You're like, how could we? We are bros that we have been journeying along life together. We have watched many a football game. We've done this, that, and the other. And then a girl comes along and you ditch us for a woman. And maybe that's happened to you, that you've lost a friend because they've started a relationship. Maybe you were driving behind someone, you didn't know where to go, and you said, I'll follow behind, and you're driving in convoy. And you get stopped at a red light, or simply the person in front just forgets that you're following them, and they just speed on. It's like you're trying to follow Lava, and she just flies on, and you get lost behind her. It is a skill to try and follow someone, because I love those people when you're following behind, they pull in and they wait on you, and then they come back in again. And maybe you've gone through the red light and they didn't, but then they're waiting up there for you. Those people are considerate. We love those people. Have you ever planned to see a movie with someone and you're super excited? I got to see Mufasa over the Christmas holidays, and I've been looking forward to it. But have you ever planned to go see a movie and then they've like, oh, I've already seen it? Who with? What do you mean you haven't seen it with me? We've seen all the other Lion King movies. We've seen all the other fill-in-the-blank movies, and you went to go with someone else, and you feel so betrayed and hurt, and you don't know who else to go see the movie with. Or maybe you were uninvited to a party. I was reliving this moment that scarred me as a teenager. It was Halloween and we were going to a friend's house for like an informal party. It was like, hey, we're going to come to my house. Parents are going to do fireworks, all that sort of thing. So I arrived at the house, knocked on the door. My friend answered and said, what are you doing here? I was like, you invited me to this? And he's like, no, you're not invited anymore. Standing at his doorstep. And I was like, I'm an introvert and like very quiet. I'm like, okay. But luckily one of my other friends was in already. And he was like, can't really be doing that like that. The word he used, I was reliving this, is fly. I didn't want to, that's fly. Like that's unfair. Did anyone ever use that? No? Okay. The words he said was, don't be fly, which means like, don't be rude. Like, you can't be serious. So I eventually got in and we had our fireworks party. And I may or not been happy about the fact that one of the fireworks went in the wrong direction and he had to duck out of the way of the fireworks, but I did not cause that to happen. But maybe you have a story of when someone ditched you, a so-called friend decided to go their own way and ditch you in school, of a date night, driving with them, planning something with them, or being uninvited to something your friends ditched you. And sometimes we feel most alone and most annoyed when people who were supposed to be for you and with you abandoned you. And when our friends and those close to us do this to us, that's when we feel hurt. That we feel alone and annoyed because they were supposed to be for us and with us. He was supposed to be my friend. He was the one that invited me to his house in the first place. Yet I was told, not invited anymore. It's the people closest to us that hurt us the most and make us feel abandoned. And if this happens to us time and time again, we start to create this narrative in our head, this false truth, and we tell ourselves this and we convince ourselves of this, is that I am better off by myself. I'm better off by myself because if I don't plan to go see a movie with someone and they watch it without me, well, then I won't feel hurt. If I don't accept any invitations to any parties, well, then I can't be uninvited. If I don't put myself out there and love others, well, I'll not be hurt. So I'm better off by myself. And it's a narrative that some of us live by. If I don't let anyone close, well, then they possibly can't hurt me. And we may start off like that, and it may start off great, and we may get on our way by ourselves, but we won't get far. We never get far when we go by ourselves, because we all need friends. We need people around us. We need people who will comfort us and challenge us and befriend us and just support us and encourage us. We need people around us. We get started on our way, but we don't get far. Because you may know this phrase, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Maybe you've used that phrase and maybe you've seen it played out in life. You get places in life with who you know. I have a dentist friend. I have a friend who's a dentist and he was able to, I had a chip in my tooth and he was able to see me the next day and he charged me nothing. It was wonderful. That's what friends are for, isn't that right? I have a friend who is a doctor. So instead of waiting to phone the doctor, I just text her and be like, hey, this is what's wrong. How do I get checked for arthritis? That was my last text I sent her. I have a bad knee. How do I get checked for arthritis? So she sent me the list of things. And you all have friends. Maybe they get you discount in places. Maybe they help you out. And I always feel bad. Being a pastor, the only thing I can offer you is a wedding or a funeral. It's all I can offer you. So if you're looking at a wedding or a funeral this year, that's all I can offer. No 10% off here, no free thing there. It's a wedding or a funeral. Take your pick. But we all know that person, that friend in our life that helps us out. Whether it's in a hotel and they get us a free upgrade or whether it's in this store and they get us. I love having friends that help me out. And you have friends that help you out as well. And then there's people like me who can't do much for you. But life is made to be connected. Life is better connected because you were made for community. We don't just create this phrase, life is better connected, and we say it every week that life is better connected. We want you to be connected with people That's why we have a Next Steps team. That's why we do connect groups. That's why at the end of church news we say life is better connected. And it's not just a slogan that we have, but we believe it because we were made for community. We were made to do life together. Who you do life with determines how your life goes. Who we do life with determines how our life goes. And if you've got teenagers, or if you were a teenager at some point, you will know this to be true, that our parents said, don't hang out with this person. Or as a parent, you said you don't want your kids to hang out with that person. Why? Because who they do life with determines how their life goes. And I would like to consider myself quite intelligent. So in school, I was in a lot of the top classes. So in like math and in sciences, I was in the top class. So when you were in science, everyone in your class was really intelligent. Like I remember doing in math one time, and we were doing a test. And the teacher gives you the results, but they also give you the class median, which is like the middle mark, to see how far you were away from the top to the bottom. And in some classes, like they were normally around 50, 60, 70. But this one time in math, this was the top class. This was my favorite subject in school. The median was 95%, which meant half of the class got above that and half of the class got below that. And I ended up the lowest, second lowest in the class with 90%. Like crazy. So I was in the top class, but then in French, in languages, it wasn't very good. You can maybe tell that I'm not really good at English either. But in French, I was in the second lowest class. And being in the second lowest class meant I was in with people that didn't care about learning, didn't care about class. So I remember the guy who sat in front of the teacher when she was writing on the board, he would like unplug her computer. He would like pour water on her desk. Like he was just mental. So when I was in French class, I was like that. I was mental. I was a little bit crazy. I wasn't listening as well as I should have. But then when I was in math and science, I was clued in because everyone there, they wanted to be doctors. They wanted to be lawyers. They wanted to be successful. So they were paying attention. They were clocked in. They were ready. And just in these two different classes, I was like two different people because who I was in class with determined how that class went. And maybe you've noticed the same. Who you hang around with determines how your life goes. And a warning in that is don't just gravitate towards acceptance. Don't just gravitate to people who will accept you, who like you, who just, hey, just come hang out with us. That's a drift, a gravitational pull that we have just to go towards people that accept us. And maybe we don't know, we don't care that they're messing about in class, and we don't care that they don't care about other people's feelings. They don't have the same values as us, but we gravitate towards acceptance. And the question I want to ask today is, what biblical advice is there for us to begin the year well and to choose good travel buddies? You get to choose some people in your life to travel with. So who are you traveling with in 2025? And is there biblical advice for us to begin the year well? And we're going to look at a verse in Proverbs 13, verse 20. And the book of Proverbs is written by King Solomon. And King Solomon was asked by God, if you could have anything in the world, I'll give you. What do you want? He could have kingdoms. He could have all the money in the world. He could have anything he wanted, yet he asked God for wisdom. So God gave him wisdom, and he was the wisest man ever to live. So he wrote this book of Proverbs, and Proverbs are short, wise sayings. So we have them in life, and we also have a book in the Bible, and these are just compiled of all these wise sayings. And if we could summarize chapter 13 of Proverbs, a commentator said this. It says, good sense coming from godly wisdom tends to lead to a good reputation and better success. We know this to be true. When we take on good wisdom, it tends to lead to better success. And that's what this commentator said about this chapter. That if we take this on, it will lead to good reputation and better success. But that comes from godly wisdom. So what does this verse say? In Proverbs 13:20 says this. It says, walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. Walk with the wise and become wise. Sort of makes sense. Who you're around, who you surround yourself with is how your life will turn out. What we tell our young people is, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And it's the same with you. Show me your friends and I'll show you the outlook for your life. So walk with the wise. As this was written, obviously there was no public transport, there was no cars, there was no buses going around. So they were walking everywhere. So this idea of walk isn't just an idea of what we have, oh, I'll go for a walk around the park. But actually walking to them was a way of life. It was where they had communication. It was where they communed with people. It's where they chatted. It's where they did business deals. So it meant walk with the wise. So do life with the wise. Live with the wise. Surround yourself with the wise and become wise. And it says, for a companion of fools, you would think, well, walk with the wise, become wise. Be with fools, be foolish. But it doesn't say that. It actually says a companion of fools suffers harm. And this idea of fools isn't like your intelligence. It's not like don't hang out with stupid people. It actually means that they're careless. By foolish, it means they're just careless. So in that case, if fools means careless, this idea of wise, wisdom is living and understanding that life is connected. And that happens, what happens today affects tomorrow. So the decisions you make today affect you tomorrow. If you're lactose intolerant, if you have milk and cheese today, I don't want to be with you tomorrow. What you decide to do today will affect you tomorrow. What you say today will affect you tomorrow. So this is what living with wisdom means, that everything is connected. Well, if I make a decision here, it's going to affect this. So if I spend too much money here, then it's going to affect that. And if I do that, it's going to affect that. But if you're foolish and careless, well, then I don't need a budget. And I'll say what I want, and I'll go where I want. So this fool is just careless. There's no planning. They don't think anything's connected. But wisdom is living and understanding that life is connected, and what happens today affects tomorrow. And as we think about this idea of walking with the wise and becoming wise, and companion of fools suffers harm, when we travel with people who care for themselves and others, that's who we want to travel with, people who take care of themselves and others. Because if they take care of themselves, they'll more than likely take care of you. And they'll help you take care of you as well. That they're wise enough, and I surround myself with people who are wise in certain aspects, because if I can glean some of their wisdom, well, that will help me in their life. Well, how do they do their budget? How do they invest their money? And I try and glean that from them, because they take care of their money, and they will help me take care of my money. How does this person parent their child? How does this person teach their child in the ways of God? Well, I want to learn that. I want to glean that, because they take care of their family. I want to learn how to take care of my family. But the opposite is true. That we see people who just squander money and they just pay for anything, and they don't really have any plan. And when you surround yourself with them, what tends to happen? Go into a shop, oh, I really need that. And you become like that as well, because they're not really caring for their finances. And they don't really care about yours either. So surround yourself with wise people and travel with people who take care of themselves and others. Because if they take care of themselves, they'll probably take care of you as well. But as we think about who we travel with, though, these people that care and people that are wise, we need to be aware and remember that acceptance is magnetic. All of us at our core want to be loved, cared for, and accepted. It's who we are as people. None of us really want to be unaccepted and just sit in the corner and just live our own life. We all want to be accepted. And this is most important during life transitions. As we transition through life, as we transition through year on year, as we go from 2024 to 2025, it's a transition. And we need to be careful and remember that acceptance is magnetic, but most importantly, when we transition. When we go from primary school to secondary school, we're looking for people to accept us. We need to find a new friendship group. As we go from secondary school to college, another transition, who are we surrounding ourselves with? because it's important as we transition. Who are you trying to be accepted by? As we go from college to job, as we go from job to job, as we go from place to place, these transitions cause us to want to be accepted. But don't get pulled into the magnetic draw of the first person who shows up and extends an invitation to you. Instead, choose friends to travel with. Maybe you've just sat on the first day of your job, you sat beside someone, so that is your friend. That's the person that you're going to travel with. That's the person that you take input from, and they give you life advice and whatever, all because they were the first person that you met. And you just wanted to be their friend because they accepted you. It was easy. But don't get pulled into that magnetic draw of the first person. Instead, choose your friends who you travel with. And yes, so often that it is good to be accepted, and that person that has accepted you in is doing a nice thing, and they're caring for you, and they're being open and wanting you to feel at home. But that doesn't mean that you need to travel with them. That doesn't mean that you need to give them an input in your life. And yes, they may like the same football team as you, and they might watch the same movies, and they might like the same restaurants. But we should look for people who share your values. Not people that are just surrounding us, not people who are convenient, but look for people who share your values. The things that mean most to you, the things that you hold on to, the things that you would die for, these values of like, no, these values are important to me. And they may not be important to the other person, so we need to choose people who care for you, people who are wise, people who have your same values. And that's not saying get rid of all of them. That's saying don't give them a driver's seat in your life. Because it's good to be surrounded with people who have different values and have different beliefs and have different thoughts than you do. Because as we converse and as we chat and as we communicate, we get better. We understand them more. They understand us more. It refines our values. It refines more of what we believe. It makes us question ourselves why we believe what we believe. Why are they the values that we have? So I'm not saying get rid of those people. I'm saying don't give them a driver's seat. And that leads us to this point. Don't pick up strangers. That works in your car as well. Don't pick up strangers from the roadside. But in life, don't pick up strangers. Don't let strangers into your car, into the driver's seat of your life to direct it. Maybe it's social media. Maybe it's the news. Maybe it's insert person here. Don't let strangers determine the direction of your life. Don't let these strangers, that people that you just are acquaintances with, who surround, maybe in work, maybe on the bus, whoever that is, don't let them into your life to direct and determine your life. Yes, it's great to have acquaintances, and it's great to have work friends, and it's great to have friends in the sports club, and great to have friends in the pub, and great to have friends everywhere. But don't pick them up and put them in the car and in the driving seat of your life. We need to be careful of who you allow into your vehicle and in the inner circle of your life. It's a big decision who we allow into our vehicle and to the inner circle of your life. And if you're a Christ follower, we should have Christ followers directing us. We should have people speaking into our life through faith. It is good to get insight from people who don't have faith, and we get their input and we get their suggestions. But they shouldn't have the majority. They shouldn't have the main say in your life. They will have wisdom. They will have. But if it's a spiritual matter, we should have Christ followers. We should have people of faith who can direct us and guide us. Maybe it's a connect group leader. Maybe it's a ministry team leader. Maybe it's someone in church that you do life with. If you're not a Christ follower, who is it that you have allowed into your circle of life? Are they leading you somewhere? Hopefully, if you find yourself in church, that maybe you're allowing us to be in your vehicle and you're allowing us an input into your life and helping you direct your life, maybe towards God or maybe just towards a better life. Because we know that Jesus makes life better and makes us better at life. So thank you if you're allowing us a voice in your life. But look at the people around you. Where are they leading you? What are they speaking into your life? Because we know this to be true, that the people who get inside our lives often determine the direction and the quality of our lives. The people that are in it determine the direction and the quality. So who you surround yourself with? Are you going in the wrong direction and your life's not great? Look around. Who is in your life? And here's some questions to ask about the people that you're surrounding yourself with. Is there anybody you do life with that makes you less healthy? Is there someone that they cause you to doubt yourself? Are they dismissive of your values? You find yourself becoming different when you're around them. Are there people in your life that answer yes to that question? Well, then you need to drop them off. You need to get to the next safe place and ask them to leave. And it's not just as brutal as that, going up to someone in work and being like, hey, you're out of my life. It's just not, it's taking a step back from them. It's not asking them their advice as often. It's not hanging out as often. But in that, we need to be kind, but careful. Because we don't want to ruin the relationship. They could still be a friend, but we don't want them to have an input into the direction and the quality of our life. So we need to be kind to them, love them, care for them. We tell our young people this all the time. Maybe you need a new friendship group. I remember when I was 15, 16, and my friends were going off in a different direction. So I made a decision that I can't hang out with them anymore, because if I do, I will do the things they do. I will say the things they say. So I made that decision that I need to find a new friendship group. So I still needed to be kind to them because we lived in the same estate. We all got the same bus on the way to school. We were in some of the same classes. But I was careful. I didn't hang around with them at certain times. I didn't allow them input into my life. But I chose to go another way. And maybe it's the same as you. Maybe those questions that we asked, there was someone in your life that fills those boxes. So we need to be kind, but be careful. God loves them, but you don't have to handle them. You don't have to have them in your life. Oh, they're a friend. I'm going to fight for them. I'm going to die with them. No, if you put God first, if you want to have the right direction in your life as a Christ follower, you will need to look at your life and put the right people in it. And if you're not a Christ follower and yet you still have a direction in your life, well, you need to put the right people around your life as well. And so often you look at people and as we get older, you find that people who do the same thing often hang around together. Why do footballers hang out with footballers? Because they all want the same thing. Why do business people hang out with business people? Because they all have the same dreams. Why do Christ followers hang out with Christ followers? Because they all want the same dream. And that's why we see that people who are alike join together, people with same values. But yet I don't want to just be surrounded by pastors. Some pastors are weird and boring. But I don't want to just be insular and be one way and get no other advice from people. I want different people speaking into my life. Maybe I know someone who's good at finance. Maybe I know someone who's a great parent. Maybe I do know a great pastor. Maybe I know someone who's great at fitness. Maybe I know someone who's not a Christ follower, but is wise in other ways. But I won't go to them with my faith issues, but I can go to them with my family. I can go to them for business. I can go for them with something else. God loves them, but you don't need to handle them. If there's someone in your life that's bringing you in the opposite direction, that are dismissive of your values, I need to drop them off. But be kind and be careful. And to use the car analogy again, you wouldn't loan your car repeatedly to someone who repeatedly trashed it. If they left it dirty, they didn't refuel it again, they dented it, and you wouldn't give it back to them. So don't loan yourself or your future self to someone who repeatedly trashes you. Don't give them the future of your life, because your future is too important to give to them. Your future is too important to give to someone that doesn't care for you. Take control into your life. Drop those people off and don't loan yourself or your future self to someone who repeatedly trashes you, because you are made for more. Because you know that who you're traveling with is where you're traveling to. Who you're going with is where you're traveling to. So today, choose the who wisely. And wisdom will do its part to lead you to the where. So we need to choose who we're doing life with, and the wisdom that they have, the wisdom of God, will lead you to the where. Because my where is different from your where. You may want one thing, I may want another thing. But the people that I choose to go with will help me get to there. And it may be different people to help you get to your where. So choose the who wisely, and the wisdom will do its part to lead you to the where. And perhaps the most important who in your life is your Heavenly Father. Maybe today you don't know Jesus. Maybe you haven't started a relationship with Him. Maybe today is the day that you choose the most important who in your life. Today is the day that you could start this year with God. And maybe that's why you're here. Maybe a New Year's resolution for you is, I want to give my life to Jesus. I was texting my brother the other day, yesterday, as I was preparing for this message. And he said, hey, my friend wants to give her life to Jesus. And what a great start to the year. And maybe that's a decision that you want to make today. That I want to select my who, and it's my Heavenly Father. Because God loves you. God has a plan and a purpose for your life. It's a good plan. And He wants you to succeed. He wants you, as we sang today, He has more for you. All the plans that you have, all the dreams that you have, He is more than able. He can do exceedingly, abundantly more than we could ever ask, think, or imagine. So maybe today is the day you decide to follow Jesus. But if you are a Christ follower in here, one of the best decisions you can make at the start of this year is to do it with God. Is to say, God, I'm doing it with you. I'm going to decide to live for you. So if you're a Christ follower, why not do this year differently and live it out for God? Say, God, this year is for you. My life is for you. And maybe last year was a little bit rocky. Last year wasn't as strong in your faith as you wanted to be. But as we start this year, you can declare that God, this year is for you. God, I'm going to live out my faith everywhere, with everyone, every day. I'm going to take my faith seriously this year.